Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So we just wrapped up incredibly busy week. This was the week of the Tech Titans. So we don't have any of those coming up this coming week, but that doesn't mean that we don't have any earnings because this is still like just an absolutely packed week of reports due out. All right, so. Starting on Monday morning, ON chip name priced in at about 6 points. One of the few chip stocks actually, basically right at its 52-week high. It's just this stock, the semis, they've been on fire into the chip bill. But my rule of thumb, and I'm going to probably be sticking with this throughout the week, is that I'm just not playing semis for earnings. Maybe like one or two have moved enough to pay options, but most have not. And especially after the run this has been on, it seems very extended. So I'll wait and see what they say. Maybe look at it after the results come out. After the close on Monday, Activision. So not really an earnings story. They're pricing in $1.75 because they're getting in the process of getting acquired by Microsoft. So I'm not sure it's going to be active, but it's still trading at a huge discount to the 95 deal price. So maybe if they give some commentary on the progress of that deal, it could move because the options really aren't pricing in much of anything. Pinterest. So about 3 points is what's expected. You have to feel like expectations are pretty low at this point on Pinterest because of Snap and Meta. But I still don't know what to make of it. It's a pretty tight technical pattern. Seems due for a move, but options aren't that cheap either. Um, Maybe I'll look at it post earnings for like a fast swing trade if something materializes. For the open on Tuesdays, Caterpillar about $10 is what they're looking for. Industrials have actually had a pretty decent showing so far this quarter, and Cat's been beat up ahead of earnings. It's starting to rally a bit now, so maybe there's still some room to come back. I haven't had a ton of success trading it lately though, so I'm not sure I'm going to play it. But it does typically move on earnings, and it could be a decent volatility strategy candidate if it keeps running into the print too. Actually, Uber. So about 275 is what's priced in. It definitely looks better technically. And last quarter wasn't as bad as lifts. But for something like this, I feel like I'd still probably be more interested in waiting until after the numbers come out to do anything, just because it hasn't been as consistent of a name lately. So I just don't know if I want to lay out the money for the options on it. After the close on Tuesday, some big names. AMD. About 7.5 points was priced in. Big semi report. It has been one of maybe, if not the most consistent names in chip land. Constant beat and raises. So I guess I'd be expecting more of the same this quarter. But at the same time, it also wouldn't surprise me to see this catch a bid ahead of the report and keep kind of pushing higher, especially after Intel disappointed. If tech remains strong and this keeps rallying, we're really gonna have to wait and see where this is on Tuesday because it could be on like a pretty aggressive run into earnings, which makes it definitely a tougher setup. Airbnb. So about 10 points is what's priced in. So Google cited strong travel search trends. Hilton had good numbers. So, that you would think that would be good read-throughs for Airbnb. Last quarter was solid, but the stock has been smoked since then. So I don't know. It seems like it could be like a speculative bullish idea if I can get risk down. But it's definitely a big travel week because you have Airbnb, Expedia, and Booking all report during the week. MSTR, the pricing in 26, 27 points, somewhere around there. I'm really only interested to see what this report looks like because I don't think I'm going to have options on it. There's just been so much attention around their crypto holdings, and that should just make for an entertaining conference call. PayPal, so about 9.5 points is what they're looking for. It just had a huge pop on an Elliott activist stake announcement, so that may remove some of the potential movement on earnings this week. The last few quarters haven't been great either, so I'm finding it hard to like pay up after a large move and with expensive options. But maybe move Square, which actually reports later in the week. SoFi, about 90 cents is what they're looking for. Hasn't really been a great trading name lately, but the option pricing does seem a little bit light to me because it seems like a pattern where there's room for like a dollar plus in either direction. So maybe sets up for a volatility strategy. Starbucks is pricing about 5 points. Kind of an interesting bullish reversal taking shape. McDonald's was solid, Chipotle was solid, so maybe Starbucks can actually deliver this quarter because it is working on like a break of the downtrend, a little bit of a reversal, but it's been kind of a disappointment in the past. So if it does keep pushing higher, maybe it's more of like a volatility strategy candidate where if it gets extended on the upside, maybe if they do disappoint again, it could give back some of those gains quickly. Before the open on Wednesday, a couple of healthcare names. CVS about 425 is what they're expecting. Definitely a choppy pattern. And you know what? Moves around earnings really haven't been as big lately on it. So option pricing seems a little high. So I might just avoid it. But Walgreens, Rite Aid, they maybe could be sympathy plays. Moderna, about 14 points is what's priced in. Pfizer had a solid quarter. COVID vaccine guidance was okay. Moderna's been kind of treading water since it broke out a few weeks ago, and seems like earnings could help it figure out direction. It hasn't had a huge move on earnings in a while though, so it is kind of tough to lay out the money here. So I guess if I did anything, it might be with like speculative further out of the money options on both sides, in case it has one of those huge swings on earnings. Under Armour is pricing in about $1.25. It got absolutely smoked last quarter. It hasn't really bounced much. Straddle seems a little underpriced based on recent movement on earnings, but also does seem like a tougher setup. So kind of like a toss-up pattern, maybe more of like a game time decision for me. But maybe Nike, maybe Lulu, maybe move around a little bit depending on what Under Armour has to say. So after the close on Wednesday, booking 130, 135. I mean, that's what the options are pricing in. They're, the spreads are pretty wide. That's why I give that range. But Airbnb reports before, so should give some color on this. So maybe booking moves ahead of that. But I just, the options are thin, the stock is thin, so it's one of those stocks that could really use a split. eBay, pricing in about 325. So actually, you have this and Mercado Libre, which is pricing in about 75, 76. I guess like the big question with these is just like whether expectations are low enough now where they can still work on mixed results, or do they both need to have clean beats, right? Because they've been rallying, and a lot of these e-commerce names have been rallying after not great numbers, but now like the further they rally, does that mean that expectations are higher, right? So it's a lot of question marks, and I don't think I'm going to do anything with Melly. Maybe with eBay, if it continues to rally, maybe I'll look at something on the bear side, but maybe, I don't know. I'm really on the fence with it. FTNT, so about 575 is what's priced in, but those are monthly options. Cybersecurity was a solid spot last quarter. It's been pretty choppy lately, but you have Checkpoint before they open on Monday. You got this. You actually have a few cybersecurity names reporting next week, so I don't know if I'm going to be in FTNT, but I might look at like sympathy plays on like Palo Alto or CrowdStrike or Okta because you do have a few cybersecurity reports. Lucid, so about 225 is what's priced in. It's kind of an interesting setup. It's it's been kind of range bound. Seems due for a move. It hasn't been too volatile in earnings lately though, so laying out money for options is a little bit more speculative. But I mean, it does seem like something where if I can get risk down on both sides, maybe a volatility strategy could be something I look at. Robinhood, it's about $1 is what's priced in. Earnings just really have not been good for a while, so something's gonna have to change for the stock to wake up. I mean, it has been a quarter where things get bought on bad news, but I'm not sure that's going to apply to Hood, so it's probably going to be like a wait and see for me. Before the open on Thursday, Baba, it's priced in about 8.5. First of the Chinese heavyweights to report. This whole group is acting lousy right now, though. But Bob is actually coming off a solid quarter in May, so maybe it's a decent spot for a speculative bullish idea, especially if it keeps sliding into earnings. JD, PDD, those are the sympathy plays I usually watch. Datadog, so about 14 points is what's priced in. It's consistently delivered for a while, and it does tend to move quite a bit. If option pricing remains around here, it might be a little tougher setup, but it's another cybersecurity name, so kind of like lines up with what I was saying about like looking for sympathy plays in the sector. Um, Paramount, so $2 is what's priced in. I thought this was setting up for a run into earnings, but then this got hit this day because Goldman downgraded it. So I guess we'll see how the quarter goes. But I mean, it still does seem like a setup where it can move. But I mean, it definitely got the wind knocked out of it with that downgrade. But streaming names are volatile. It's been a tight lower range, so maybe it can be a mover. Wayfair, so 10 points is what's priced in. Overstock wasn't pretty, but this stock actually didn't get hit. There should be some read through to Wayfair for that, but it's also hard to say where expectations are, right? Does it get a free pass like the other key e-commerce names, or does it get punished if numbers aren't good? So I guess the biggest move would maybe be if they surprise with the beat and raise, but what are the chances of that happening? After the close on Thursday, there's actually like a few like heavily shorted like squeezy type names reporting. AMC, it's pricing at $1.75. It's not really going to be a focus on earnings for me. It doesn't seem to move much when it reports, but maybe after it sets up for something. Beyond Meat, pricing in 6. Recent quarters have been ugly, so I mean that's kind of like my baseline expectation going in. But it's like the same with all of these. Like, do they get a free pass if the numbers aren't good this quarter? But really heavily shorted, so maybe it could be a mover. Carvana, another name, super heavily shorted. They're priced in $6. I mean, it's been in a really tight lower range. Recent quarters have not been good, but could it be the quarter where bad news gets bought? I mean, that's the question with them. DoorDash, another one. 10.25 is what's priced in. Just it seems like it's due for a move, but the numbers just have not been great recently. So it's a toss up to me. Still feels like expensive, but there have been some buyers around 60, so maybe more of a game time decision. Um, there's also a few software names. So Team is pricing in about 25. Valuations come down, but they've had some headwinds with FX. I think with like Russia, Ukraine too. It has had some huge moves on earnings in the past, but it doesn't really feel like a setup for one this quarter. I might leave it alone. Maybe look at something post earnings if a trade materializes. Net, so $7 is what's priced in. It did move a bunch last quarter, and it does actually have a decent history of moving. It's just, it's not, options aren't cheap, and 7 points is a lot for a $50 stock. So, I'm on the fence with it. But again, another cybersecurity name kind of reinforces the idea that cybersecurity stocks could be in play next week. Twilio, about 11.5 is what's priced in. I'm really curious to see how this plays out because it's been very, very quiet. Seems due for a move. Recent quarters haven't been that bad, but at the same time they also haven't been great. I wonder if we can get something going like Zoom if the numbers are solid. And I kind of haven't figured out if it's an earnings play or maybe post earnings play, but it's definitely something I'm watching next week. Square, about 9.25 is what's expected. It's lagged on the recent market bounce, and I guess earnings will be a chance to see what's going on. The Afterpay acquisition is a big question mark here because I think people are wondering if they're going to need to write it down soon because valuations have really collapsed in the buy now, pay later companies. So when Teladoc wrote down Livongo, it was smoked. So maybe there's some caution on Square because of that. So it could be a volatile one next week. Expedia, so it's the last of the travel names to report. So by the time Expedia, has earnings, I mean it may have already moved a bunch, but they are pricing at 11.5 points. Just have to wait and see where it is towards the end of next week. Also, a couple of real estate plays. Open Door, which is priced in $1, and then Zillow, which is priced in at about 450. So Open Door is still doing the iBuy, which Zillow ditched. So it'd be kind of interesting to see what Zillow has to say. Also, what Open Door has to say too. I mean, Zillow just needs good news. I mean, to turn the corner, like it's going to require some like positive news, which it just hasn't had. And I feel like both of these would be like more potential after earnings versus like on earnings. So I might just like read through the press releases, see if there's any reason to like maybe throw on some trades after. And then wrapping up the week, DraftKings Friday morning priced in at about $1.50. It's heading into its busy season with NFL kickoff around the corner. It's been working on a break of its downtrend, so earnings are going to either maintain the momentum or really put it on pause. It seems like more of the risk is to the upside after the drop to the low teens, but also doesn't mean that there isn't downside risk. So I feel like I feel like the risk reward skewed higher, but it may also be something where a volatility strategy could make sense. And then Western Digital wrapping up the week with the chip report. About 4.5 points was priced in. It's way off its high from when it's announced it was split into two. But my rule of thumb, and that's been the case for the last couple of weeks, has been to avoid semis on earnings. So doubt I'm going to break that for Western Digital on Friday. All right. So just a huge week. I mean, just big priced in moves, volatile names, a lot of like interesting setups. So I'm hoping for a busy one. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information on trading earnings with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, and I will talk to you